I think no one will argue with the fact that Minecraft is a very flexible game. In it, you can do almost anything, a kind of dough from which you can make something incredible or a piece of poop. Minecraft can quietly be a horror game for adults, or a nice place for kids. Over time, you can even encounter legends that have seeped into the world of Minecraft. There are so many of them: Green Steve, Entity 303, White Enderman, but no one will argue with the fact that heads all this list he, whose name can be called His Majesty, Herobrine. Today, you will learn the real story of Herobrine's origin, how he was popularized, why Notch doesn't like to talk about his dead brother, and of course, a full expose of the main fakes associated with this mysterious character. This is where our story begins. A top-secret folder has come into my hands, containing physical evidence that he has never existed, and most likely never will. With the emergence of such a phenomenon as Herobrine, there are a lot of different variations of what he can do and what his abilities are on the internet. Let's first look at his canonical version, which is used to and keepers of Minecraft, and most players. First and most importantly, he follows the players, but he hides from them to scare them at the most unexpected moments. He appears in the world by himself. He does not need to be summoned. Herobrine has the ability of a virus, so he will have no problem getting into your single-player game. Then there are the tunnels. He digs tunnels that are 2x2 blocks in size with skillful filigree. He mostly does this in huge mountains or underground in mines. Herobrine is very in love with Egypt, so he also builds small but perfectly smooth pyramids out of sand. They can be found all over the world, in every biome, and even in water. If you have found such a pyramid, it means that Herobrine is somewhere nearby. And of course, the leaves. He often likes to tear off the leaves and leave bare tree crowns. To be honest, it scared me a lot, because going through the terrain and meeting a forest that consists entirely of blocks of wood, and there is not a single block of foliage. The sight is not a pleasant one. Although looking back, I can say one thing. It's pretty damn cool, because you just take the axe out of the inventory and nicely mining blocks. That's how Herobrine is remembered to me. It's his canonical look, neither add nor remove. Of course, over time, our protagonist acquired new abilities and capabilities, which people now perceive as canonical, although this is fundamentally wrong. The first thing Herobrine did was become a dead miner, and he can be found in the mines. The same sounds of block mining that can be heard deep underground are attributed to just this guy. As soon as he approaches your house, all light sources will be destroyed, thus creating a favorable environment for the appearance of monsters. His main goal is to lure you into a trap and kill you, taking all your stuff. Presumably, he does this when you are trying to get out of the mine with a bag full of goodies. He can also be found somewhere in the cave with a pickaxe in his hands. But when you approach him, he just melts into thin air like a mirage. And most importantly, Herobrine can be summoned. This is one of the main differences between the canon and the variant that the players came up with. He can be summoned using a special shrine. It is necessary to build a 3x3 square of gold blocks. In the middle, put a block of netherrack, and on each side, redstone torches. Then wait for the lightning to strike the netherrack, and then Herobrine will appear in the single-player game. Which one do you like better? The canonical Herobrine or the one the community came up with? Write in the comments. Let's start from the beginning. And when I say from the beginning, I mean 2005. In January 2005, the 4chan picture board was created, where anyone could post a picture and add a description to it. Later in February 2007, it was transformed into a paranormal phenomena board. It was dedicated to discussing topics that dealt with unexplained phenomena, the supernatural, and various conspiracy theories. Almost all popular and iconic creepypastas were created here. The story of Herobrine was no exception, and was born here as well. A post was created in which a huge text was written and a photo was attached to it, or rather a screenshot from the game of very poor quality, where Herobrine himself was visible. I think this picture has seen everyone who has ever looked for information about Herobrine. It tells the origin of the character, and it can be considered as a canon. Let's talk about everything and in order. In August 2010 was published this post, but unfortunately it did not find success and fell into oblivion. In other words, it was deleted. Now the post is not available, and even the web archives have not saved it. Roughly speaking, we can consider this the first appearance of Herobrine on the internet. Unfortunately, the post was published anonymously, and to find out the real name or nickname of the person who invented Herobrine, unfortunately it is impossible. But with 100% certainty, we can say who was able to give him life, and so to speak, promoted him on the career staircase. This guy's name is Copeland. He was the one who was able to make people believe in this character. and create tons of fake content. Copeland was one of the few people who saw this post on the 4chan forum. He found it interesting and funny, so he decided it was worth telling his viewers about it. At that time, there were no cool services where you could stream games, not even Twitch. Streaming was done through such a site as livestream.com. Now it seems to be functioning, but nobody uses it. So Copeland created a kind of site, ghostinthestream.net, where he recruited people for a team to make constant streams on Minecraft. Unfortunately, the site is not available now, but it can be viewed through the web archive. From the beginning, he decided to take a screenshot of his world and Photoshop Herobrine into it to give his audience a bit of a buzz. He did so and uploaded the photo to his chat room on the site. It didn't take long to get a reaction, and users gave positive feedback. He then decided it would be a great idea to add Herobrine to his single-player game. But how do you do it in a way that doesn't raise suspicion and that it's a single world? Everything should be made as simple as possible. Albert Einstein. He did not show Herobrine from the beginning of the stream because the logical outcome of the stream after the appearance of our hero will be its ending. So Copeland waited for a special moment. Well, check out the world he was playing in, and you can see how it all happened. He was acting as normal as possible, playing Minecraft, building his world. But during the entire stream, he never once went into the room on the second floor. After 20 minutes and 45 seconds, he decides to do it. He opens the door, and bam, he sees Herobrine, shrieks, runs out of the house, and ends the stream. He posted in chat that he got really scared and wanted to recover a bit. Later, he created a post on the Minecraft forum with the title, "Video Proof of His Existence," where he threw a link to the stream and signed it, "He's real." After that, he wrote that he deleted the world so he wouldn't have to face Herobrine again. As I said, Copeland was the creator of the site, and he had a team from other streamers. After this incident, his friend Patamus decided to pull the same thing. This time, Herobrine was also in single player, but flying over a lake of lava while doing nothing at all. The live broadcast also ended suddenly after Patamus ran away and left the world. He resumed it about 10 minutes later, but Herobrine was gone. Later, Patamus spilled the beans when he told his wife on the stream that it was all just trolling and Herobrine didn't exist. The viewers of the broadcast heard this and were outraged. When Patamus saw this, he faked a game crash and ended the broadcast. It is not clear exactly when the next incident occurred, either right after the broadcast or during it, but Copeland had already dropped a link to a special page in the chat room. After opening it, you were taken to a page with a rather scary face of Steve. His eyes were dark, with human eyes twitching frantically in the center. It looks really creepy, but underneath this GIF image, there were incomprehensible symbols, an encrypted message. If you remove all the symbols and leave only the letters of the alphabet, you get this message. It has been reported that some victims of torture in the past have gone into a fantasy world from which they could not wake up. In this catatonic state, the victim lived in a world similar to their normal world, except that they were not tortured. The only way they would have realized they needed to wake up would have been a note they would have found in their fantasy world. It would inform them of their condition and tell them to wake up. Even after that, months would pass until they were ready to discard their fantasy world and wake up. As if to hint that we are all in a fantasy world. This is actually another creepypasta that has been edited a bit. It was released on October 21st, 2008 and can be found at creepypasta.com. It differs from the Herobrine pasta only in the word torture. A harsher expression is used, but it doesn't really change the meaning. After that, Copeland never made another production with Herobrine, but for about a year, he claimed that he was real and he existed. After that, things changed dramatically. People went crazy. They started creating separate sites that were dedicated to Herobrine, writing their own creepypastas and telling their experiences with Herobrine and much more. A few people, without realizing it themselves, created a huge infomercial that grew rapidly, and obviously it was to everyone's benefit. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. This is one of my favorite chapters of this video, because in it, let's just say that the masks are pulled off. Let's start with the very first mention of Herobrine, that 4chan post. First of all, I don't like the way the author himself talks about Herobrine. He says that after the first meeting, he went to the Minecraft forum and looked for some posts about this guy, but he couldn't find anything. So he created his own, where he asked if anyone else had seen him in his game. But after 5 minutes, the post was deleted. Then he created it again, but the post was immediately deleted. Instead, he received a message from the user Herobrine, and the message had only one word: stop. When he decided to go to the profile, it simply didn't exist. Sounds like complete nonsense. The account never existed, and it was first registered on July 9th, 2012. That's almost a year after it first appeared. It was never listed anywhere in the database before it was registered. Another problem is that he only attached one screenshot of Herobrine standing in the fog, barely visible. Okay, let's say that's true. The player saw it, got scared, and quickly took a screenshot. But what about the other stuff? I mean, he said Herobrine created a perfect little pyramids, 2x2 block tunnels, and most importantly, removed the foliage from the trees. Where are the screenshots of all those things? I'm just putting myself in the shoes of a guy who was walking through the world and saw a small pyramid. My actions? I'd definitely take a screenshot of such a thing, especially when I'd encounter a lot of these things. About the tunnels, I agree. They could, in theory, appear because of the buggy world generator. It still, after all the fixes, can generate a flying island. And what to speak about those years when Minecraft was developed by only one person? And trees? Exactly the same as with the pyramids. I'd definitely take a screenshot if I saw forests everywhere with trees without leaves. I don't take trees that grow near lava. No complaints there. But you can tell the difference between an area with a lava lake and one without, can't you? Now here's the next one, single player. Thank you very much, Notch, that during the development of alpha and beta versions, wrote in the upper left corner of the version of Minecraft. This will help us a lot. You can see in the screenshot that the world was on alpha 1.0.16.02. 2 versions earlier, namely in alpha 1.0.15, multiplayer became available for everyone. Now everyone could create their own server and play together with friends. Because of this, you can understand that the author created a server and his friend with the skin of Steve who had white eyes. It's as simple as that. The only confirmation that this is not a server is only the words of the author of the post. Moving on, my favorite is Notch's dead brother. Oh, how I love this one. In the post, the author wrote, people were able to find out that an account with the nickname Herobrine belonged to a Swedish gamer. And after discovering some information, they found out it was Notch's brother. Oh my god, Notch has had a brother? He's been hiding from us all this time? No way. So the author didn't believe it and wrote a letter asking Notch himself, does he have a brother? To which he promptly replied, yes. But he is no longer with us. Very sad, isn't it? Notch's brother decided to play Minecraft from the other side of the world. You see, it was 2010. Notch didn't like to talk about his family, especially not the happy families we see in the movies. That's why Notch didn't like to talk about them, because of that people could believe anything, because there were no special denials, and there was no sense in it either. If they had waited until October 17, 2013, they could have come up with something better. Now, I will tell you a little bit more about the Notch family. These will be clippings from the book Minecraft, The Unlikely Tale of Marcus Notch, Person, and the Game That Changed Everything. I advise you to read the book. It is very interesting. I'll tell you right away. What I will read may shock and scare you. I warn you, drugs are evil. I hate everything that is connected with them. Never take them. It can end badly, both for you and your loved ones. Berger, Marcus's father, got a job on the state railroad, and Ritva got a job at a hospital in the town of Bollnäs. Berger had an addiction. Before his children were born, drugs, mostly amphetamines, were always present in his life. When Marcus and his sister were 12 and 11 years old, respectively, their parents divorced and their father moved out. The house proved too spacious and expensive for the 3 of them, and the children moved into an apartment with Ritva. They had less and less contact with their father. The divorce shook the whole family, but it was Marcus's sister, Anna, who took it the hardest. Once Anna, who knew her brother's weakness, called him a computer nerd. He did not stay in debt and called her a punk whore. He sneaks into a room and it's like he's in another world. On the untidy bed was a spray bottle with a spout and a label that said butane. Anna hadn't even bothered to hide it. Butane, used to refill lighters, was not hard to get, and the teenagers often inhaled it, getting a quick high. One day, Person's family learned that he had been arrested. They were told that Berger had been involved in some kind of burglary. He was then taken to prison. She went from snuff to hard alcohol, and then tried amphetamines, the same drugs her father had taken. Now she tells how they started taking together, and she went from daughter to drug-addicted girlfriend. About a month later, they learned that Birger had committed suicide in his village home in Hälsingland. This is the kind of not quite standard family, and not quite the happy childhood Notch had. Marcus never had a brother die, because he never had one. If the authors had the chance to write a creepypasta in 2013, after the book came out, I'd rather make it so that Herobrine is Notch's dead father. But then, it's not a given that the story would have ended as well as it does now. After all, it would only put pressure on Marcus, hurting him every time. At one point, Notch was so fed up with the questions about Herobrine being sent to his inbox that he made an automatic email back, which said that Herobrine is a fictional character and has never been in the game and never will be. And most importantly, the fact that he never had a brother, much less a dead one. I forgot to clarify that Jeb received this message, and a screenshot of this message was also shown on his Twitter by Jeb, all because his message contained the word Herobrine. Let's digress a bit and get to the Copeland fakes. Let's start with the fact that a year after it happened, he admitted that the whole story was a fake, just to raise awareness and gain popularity. So how did he add Herobrine to his world if it was a single-player game? A mod, a montage, stitching, one word, Photoshop. Copeland simply took a photo of Herobrine, put it into a picture of Graham, and added blocks from the Doku Craft resource pack, which he was actively using at the time, to the background. Then he just put the picture up before the stream started and didn't enter the room until a certain point. When he did, it looked as much like a real person as possible. In one of the videos from the channel, Enderboss25, Copeland himself even showed how he photoshopped Herobrine on his screenshot. The very first screenshot he used to drum up interest in the chat, Patamus did a similar thing on his stream. He just replaced the door texture and put it on a transparent block, thus making it look like Herobrine is actually levitating over the lava. It's as simple as this. Man wants to be fooled. Remember that. Everybody fools everybody else, but they do it too primitively. Count Cagliostro, from the movie The Formula of Love. After Herobrine had quite a big hype, the developers realized that this is a great thing for playing with the audience. This is quite a normal practice, because the community gets some bits of desired information, and the company itself gets additional PR, which it didn't spend a penny on. Everyone is on the plus side. No one is upset. For the first time, the developers officially added Herobrine to the Wedding Weekend poster. He was placed right behind Notch and was hard to see. By the way, the Wedding Weekend was a special event that was organized by the developers. Its essence was that if you bought a copy of Minecraft during this event, you would get 2 copies instead of 1. It was supposed that you would give the second one to your second soulmate, or at the worst, to your mom. Those were good times. After only a few months, the developers of Minecraft announced the second Minecon, created a separate page for this case, and in the header of the site, you could also find a well-hidden Herobrine between a zombie and a creeper. This was not the last appearance of this guy, because in the official trailer, he could also be found on the dance floor with players and developers. When Herobrine was already getting boring, he became a common meme. The developers started writing in every changelog that they had removed Herobrine. For the first time, Notch actually did that. A human mob once existed in Minecraft, and he went ahead and just deleted its code from the game, implying that Herobrine was descended from a normal human. Since then, until version 1.16.2, the developers wrote in the list of changes that they removed Herobrine from the game. Later, YouTubers picked up on this trend and started using Herobrine as the main antagonist in their videos. For example, in one iconic Captain Sparkles song, Fallen Kingdom, Herobrine was the catalyst for all the events in the video. In Slamakov's music video, Cubeland Steve meets Herobrine, who starts hunting him and naturally wants to kill him. Steve, however, is not a pushover and begins to prepare for the fight. In the end, everything turns out to be a happy ending, and Herobrine is killed. Hypixel also helped popularize Herobrine. No, not the server. It was originally a person who created incredibly cool adventure maps. One of them was the map Herobrine's Mansion. The idea was very simple. You had to go through the crowds of servants, collecting different items and armor, and at the end to meet face-to-face with Herobrine. In the console edition version of Minecraft, the text appeared during the loading process. We think 4J Studios has removed Herobrine from the console edition, but we're not sure about that. In January 2018, the first skin pack was re-released for console editions. It could be purchased by anyone interested, but what is noteworthy in the official image was the skin of Herobrine. In the description of this set was written, Herobrine, of course, has been removed from this set of skins. And here he was, literally removed. There were originally 45 of them, and this set only had 44. I don't know if you remember, but there used to be a game called Minecraft Earth, so on the FAQ page was the following: is Herobrine also present in the game? The answer was written in capsize removed. This could be interpreted as removed from the game, or that the answer to this question was removed. The question was later removed from the list. There's also an official Herobrine account, but I will warn you that this is not the same as the original Herobrine in discussion. And the thing is that a guy from Sweden, even before Herobrine appeared as a creepypasta, registered such a nickname for himself. So Mojang has nothing to do with this account. One former developer, Andreas Jorgensen, tweeted that a friend of hers owns this account, and he gets hundreds of of emails offering to restore access. Is that true or not? It's hard to say, but I'm inclined to think it's true. Around 2014, Mark Watson created what is known as the Mark's Head format. It sounds very serious, but he simply created a few accounts with specific skins so that map creators could use regular heads without the risk of someone changing their skins. All of these names start with the letters MHF, Mark's Head format _ and then the name of something. So one of the available names was also Herobrine, and anyone can use all these heads, including Herobrine, in their favor. At this point in time, specifically in 2024, the hype around Herobrine has subsided and is no longer garnering crazy views like it used to. All the old players don't believe in this creepy pasta, and new players either haven't heard of him or have heard that it's all lies. But Herobrine is an iconic character. He's gone down in the history of Minecraft and cemented himself there as an integral piece of the game's creation. Essentially, he did nothing wrong. He added to the hype around Minecraft, gave people food for thought, and also a topic of discussion on various forums. Naturally, various cringe videos that call out Herobrine at 3 a.m. are still released, or videos that just talk about Herobrine, for example. But his popularity has decreased if you compare it to 2013 when he was at his peak. The only high-profile appearance of Herobrine was in January 2021 when the Minecraft at Home community was able to find the very world seed in which the first screenshot of Herobrine was taken. The whole process took about a month of time. The only complication was that all previous ways of finding seeds did not work for the alpha version of Minecraft. So you had to analyze one old, not quite high-quality screenshot. In the search help, the textures of grass, mountain, small trees on the mountain, and 2 large trees that are connected to each other. I do not want to go into a lot of detail. This video is not about finding the seed. In the end, the seed was found, also found the exact location. But as you can guess, Herobrine himself was not there. But still, on its own, this character will live for a very long time. At least as long as Minecraft is alive, Herobrine will live too. The description has all the links to the sources I used in my video. If you're waiting for a new video, check out these ones. They are also very interesting. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and click on the bell. We'll hear from you again.